we're going to go right back to the start, Jamie. Obviously, you're on here as that. But what people might not know about you is you had a passion and an affiliation for horse racing in the very beginning. You were a jockey and a photographer of that. Steeplechase, I believe, was the specialty, was it not?
Yep. I never rode in the Grand National, but I was what we call in America National Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So I was riding steeplechase race horses for about 7 years, not professionally, but when I was in school and college a little bit. I rode 50 races and had 11 winners, so I wasn't terrible. I did win. I did beat some really nice horses and some nice jockeys, but I also was very lucky that I had a great support team behind me, with the trainer that I worked for, whose name is Arch Kingsley. So he was a national champion here, trainer and jockey himself. So
Mm-hmm.
he pretty much taught me everything I know, and it was an amazing experience. When I went to college, I was still riding a little bit, but I was also a collegiate swimmer for all 4 years. And when I graduated from college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and I wasn't sure where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. Like, I had a degree in history and international politics. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, what do I do with a history degree? I have this passion for photography, but I don't know if I can make it a full-time living. So I moved to England, and I rode in England for a little bit, and I lived up toward you, actually. I was in Leyburn and, um, you know, Middleham, which is the small, tiny town up on
Okay.
in the moors in the
Mm-hmm.
North Yorkshire area. So I spent a lot of time just living there for almost 6 months, just kind of riding horses, getting paid cash under the table. The Queen never knew about it, so I never got taxed on anything. But I would get paid in just cash. This was in 2010. So yeah, I loved it. I spent tons of time just traveling all over England. Went to Ireland for a little bit. I spent a lot of
Mm-hmm.
time in Cheltenham. Little, not even that much time in London, but I was really in these tiny little towns, which are just horse communities, and
Mm-hmm.
working with the small yards that just have racing programs. And I was just the American lad that would jump on a horse and get paid a little bit of money, and I owned a car. I loved it.
Happy day. That sounds like a very nice, like nice quintessential English life you managed to
That was great.
carve out for yourself.
I don't know if I could go back and do it again. Like, it was just a really special time in my life where I wasn't attached to anybody.
Yeah.
I wasn't married, so I didn't have any, like, I didn't have a job. I could just go do it, and it was great.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So, how did the initial horse racing like? Was it horses in the family? Obviously, you're a South Carolina guy.
Yeah, North
Yeah.
Carolina, but
Oh, North. Sorry.
I'm right on the border. Like, Charlotte is the city where I'm
Hmm.
from, and it's right on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina, so I can drive to South Carolina in 5 minutes. But yeah, horses have been always been in my family. My dad is a big horse racing fan. He's not just he was an amateur jockey when he was much younger.
Hmm.
And then even when I started riding race horses, he was still kind of dabbling a little bit as a jockey. Like, he would ride it. We rode against each other a couple times in a few races, but
Hmm.
it was always something that was just in the family. That my parents are both from Maryland, which is really big into horse country,
Hmm.
and in the racing community, the Maryland Grand National, which is a really famous race uh, for amateur riders, which is a steeplechase race. It would be like our Grand National, but for amateurs. And
Hmm.
so it was very cool, like, to have that growing up, to have that passion for horses in my family. My mom loves horses, but she never really rode that much. It was mainly my dad. So
Hmm.
we shared that together, that we would just go to races, and we would travel a little bit for racing, and he was very supportive of my desire to be a jockey.
Hmm.
But I'm also not short. I'm 5 foot 11 inches, and
I
you
did
know,
think that when you said swimmer as well. I was like, those two body types
yeah.
don't really go hand in hand.
No, I'm built more like a swimmer than a jockey. But as with any jockey, it's not about the height; it's about the weight. So if you can make the weight,
Hmm.
then you can be as tall as you want. Like, I have a picture of me standing next to AP McCoy, who's, what, 16-time national hunt champion,
Yeah.
and he's like maybe a hair shorter than I am, but not a lot. So it's
Wow.
pretty. It was a cool time in my life just to have that passion for horses run very, very deep.
I know. I love that it got to take you around the world as well. And like you said, it helped you in the university college lifestyle as well got you there. Your
For
collegiate
sure.
swimming also helped, and then, like you said, just the life skills you would have picked up as well, just getting to travel to England and sort of going, I'm just going to do this now. And like
It
you said, if the Queen never knows about it, we don't need to discuss tax. So,
I say this all the time that, being a photographer and doing what I do isn't really about taking pictures. It's not about making pictures. It's honestly about who you meet, how you get along with them, the journey, really. It's all about who you know. And having
mhm,
those experiences traveling all over the world and meeting different people and having a different life that most people will never lead gave me life experiences that I'm very thankful for that can't be created in any school or college. It just has to be lived, and that's something that I'm very thankful for. And I really try and encourage people to do that. It's like, yes, you can be the best photographer in the world, but you may not be a successful photographer because you can't talk to people, you can't relate to people, you
mhm.
can't understand a different culture or lifestyle. So I can walk out the door and I can, find people to talk to from all over this planet. From there's Chinese mechanics, there's Chinese drivers, there's Japanese drivers, there's Japanese mechanics, there's Italians, there's Germans, there's Brits, there's Scots, there's Irish, there's Spaniards, Brazilians. I mean, you name it, and there's somebody out that door that's from somewhere in the
Mhm.
world that's not the United States of America. And we all share a passion for car racing, and because we're all here, but it's not about the photography that got me here. It's a lot of the who you know along the way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think soft skills. Somebody said it to me. It's like hard skills get you in the door, soft skills get you into the meetings. Yeah.
100%,
Mhm.
absolutely.
And I couldn't agree more. But so where did so you're doing this? You've managed to get yourself to England. You said you're doing your photography. That's always been a passion. Did you do any sort of formal education for the photography, or was this just kind of a case of you just sort of picked one up as you were going and you thought, I just have a love and affinity for this?
Yeah, I was given a pretty entry level DSLR camera for my 21st birthday in 2008,
Mhm,
and I'm now 35, so it was quite a while ago. But it was pretty deep into the digital age. Like I think digital cameras really became a real thing in the early 2000s, and so by the time I picked up a camera, it was they were very like complicated and um, were pretty technologically advanced. So it wasn't just like a simple DSLR like that was very expensive. It was affordable, and I just took to it really really quickly, and I found that it was something that I really enjoyed being able to share my world and the things that I enjoyed with other people. And that's really what you boil photography down to is it's all about just meeting interesting people and getting to share interesting things and share your perspective on whatever event it is, whether it's racing or horse racing or swimming. So
mhm,
in college, I just took my camera and I brought it to as many swim meets as I could, and I took pictures of my friends competing, and I worked a little bit for the college newspaper, and obviously I brought it to a lot of my horse racing events as well. So
mhm,
when I would ride a race, I would bring my camera with me, and the track security people aren't going to stop a jockey trying to walk back on the track because I'm already in my like boots and pants and like my flak
yeah,
vest that I've got. So they're not going to like stop me. I've got a credential and everything to go pretty much wherever I want to go. And I just happen to have a camera and I could just go out on track and take pictures of the horses and my other rider friends. And it just slowly kind of like you learn a lot as you go. It's a great thing. It's a great art form to learn because you can do it and learn through experience. So
mhm,
it's not something you have to go to school for. You can learn really quickly. Like I actually, it's an embarrassing story, but when I first got my first camera, I was sitting on my bed in my parents' house on over my birthday weekend, and there was a fan, and I'd loved Formula One for years and years and years before this,
mhm,
and I'd seen the pages of F1 racing, and I was like, there used to be a page or a section of F1 racing where they had big pictures, like it was called the parade spread, and it was a
yeah,
double page, big. We call it double truck in the media world. So it was a double truck, double page spread,
mhm,
and in that there was like this gigantic picture. It was always a beautiful picture, and it would have the camera settings in the corner with like a little blurb from the photographer. And I don't know, like there was one of them that was like 1/8000th at f 5.6 or something, and I was like, wow, you can stop an F1 car, you can freeze an F1 car. And I'm sitting in my
Yeah.
parents' bedroom and I'm looking up at the fan above me going around and around like this. And it's pretty dark in any room. It doesn't matter what room it is, unless you're pointing your camera at the sun, it's pretty dark. And so I like point my camera at the fan, and I like to put the settings on like 1/8000 f5.6, like, well, if it can stop an F1 car, it can definitely stop a fan. And I took a picture, and the picture was just black, like there's just nothing
Yeah.
there. And I went on I don't even remember what it was. It was like a photography forum, but I went on a photography forum, and I was like, I took a picture of the fan in my bedroom, and it's just black. And I don't know why. Like, is something wrong with my camera? I don't understand. And somebody wrote back. They were like, well, you know, like, what settings were you using? What aperture? And I was like, why? Why do you need to know? Like, I just used it. And it was really like it was like a kind of a light bulb moment where it's like, this isn't just pointed at something and like put the settings you want to use. Like, there's actually like kind of not math to it, but you have to experiment a little bit with understanding light. And it was really just trial and error. I've never taken any classes, or I've done one like 3 or 4 day workshop that I did with a sports photography group. Rich Clarkson, which he's like a very famous sports photographer from, he's very old. I don't even know if he's still alive anymore, but he ran this sports photography workshop, and I got, tons of experience and learning ability through that and with other sports photographers. But I've never taken any classes that had any kind of photography, anything. So it's all just trial and error, figure it out as you go. I'm still learning every day. I learn something every day.
Well, I love it when people think that, because a lot of people think in hobbies nowadays, like I have my friends that ask me about this, and they're like, well, where did you learn to do that? And I was like, I found out what software I needed, but before I bought this thing, I bought a horrible microphone off eBay or Amazon or something, and I was, when it comes and it doesn't even have English instructions for how to set up, you've
You're like,
bought
now
something.
what?
Yeah, and you somehow, your voice sounds worse than if you actually just shouted into this computer hoping it would pick it up.
Yeah.
And then, but it's like there's so many things that are a process of trial and error, and like I think like what you said pretty much sums it up really lovely. If you really want to do it and you really enjoy it, you'll find a way to make it work.
Yeah, it's just you'll figure it out, and you've got no other choice other than to figure it out.
So, hey, thank you for listening to this Clips episode on YouTube. And then if you want to hear the whole podcast, you can find them on Apple or Spotify, as well as the full video version on this YouTube channel, alongside all the other great content we produce on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you again on another Clips episode or in the full episode podcast. Tweet us, tag us, let us know what you thought. All the links are down in the description. It means the world that you guys come and support us, so thank you very much.